Hi friends! If you want to check out what my picks are for if I could only keep 10 palettes out of all the eyeshadow palettes that I have, then please keep on watching. Hi, my name is Alicia. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. And if you are returning, well, thank you for visiting me again. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I am a fitness professional who loves things all movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. If I could only keep 10 palettes was started by Annette's Makeup Corner. I will leave her channel down below as well as her own If I Could Only Keep 10 Palettes video. She does a lot of palette reviews and she does hypothetical palette videos as if I could make my own Colourpop palette or if I could make my own Juvia's Place palette out of all the palettes from those said brands that she owns. She loves creativity and also likes to inspire those who really like to dive into makeup and to challenge our own creativity. So thank you, Annette, for starting this trend. It is a lot of fun to really edit and curate our own inspiration and thoughts because listen, I love my eyeshadow palettes, okay? I buy too many. I'm going to put that out right there right now. But what seems to be the dialogue that convinces me to keep buying more eyeshadow palettes is that each curation and each color story is going to be different depending on the brand. Every brand has something to offer and there's always something slightly different with that presentation. So I didn't want to double dip. I made it a little harder for myself. I only picked one eyeshadow palette from one brand. I'm more than happy if I do have more than 10 palettes from one brand to do my top 10 picks for that brand. That could be a thing, but for now we're doing from all the eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection, my 10 that I can only keep forever and get rid of all the ones that I have, which is why it was very difficult. Nostalgia played a role, color story played a role, the performance played a role. I took all these components into consideration to help me better make this decision because I was real serious about it. I was like, oh, this is hard. So let's start with palette number one. Shall we? I have to start out with Sydney Grace. I tried Sydney Grace extensively last year, although I might have bought several of their shadows back in 2018. I dived in a little deeper in 2019, and I have to say, because there were a lot of bundles and palettes that I could have chose from, but I have to give it to Enduring Love. This palette comes in both light and deep in that depending on the palette curation, the matte shades will be better suited for lighter skin tones or tan to deeper skin tones. Now, she probably could have went a little deeper with the mattes if you are deeper than me, but I understand that it's tough because this is an indie brand and they could only produce so much at one time. In spite of that, however, I feel there's a good mixture of metallics, shimmers, and mattes. And the mattes in here, upon seeing them, they're cool, but I just think they pair so nicely with like these tone metallics with the purple and the turquoise, and then you got this beautiful olive and you have these beautifully shiny metal shades, and of course the purples here and that pop of coral. You have the black here to deepen up any look if you want to go that route, and the performance is phenomenal. These mattes blend beautifully, and again, I just love no matter which way you combine these shades, it's a beautiful look. And it gives an opportunity also if you wanted to stay mostly neutral with a lot of these shades, you can pop the colors here presented in the palette on the inner corner, on the lower lash line, in the inner lower lash line, as I like to do a lot with my looks. And these metallics, dude, it's crazy. The shine on these is exceptional. And again, the mattes are just beautifully smooth and really easy to blend. And I'm not one to gravitate toward cool tone shadows regularly, but these really spoke to me. I really love these tones. I think they mesh so well with each other. This palette, I feel, is well thought out, is harmonious, and I would do quite well if this was included, and it is in my must-have top 10. Charlotte. I was actually surprised that I picked this particular one because you might have thought, or I had expected to pick Pillow Talk Instant Eye palette, but instead I picked the Starry Eyes to Hypnotize palette. This was a special holiday palette. I believe it was this past year, 2019. The reason why I chose this palette, because if I could only keep 10, I wanted the most comprehensive color story, and the Pillow Talk Instant Eye palette is primarily the Pillow Talk theme. It has some beautiful shades in there. I reviewed that palette. I used all the shades in there and I loved each and every look I created. However, if I wanted a little bit of variety, I could have like a pillow talk moment right here between these two trios and then go the opposite direction with this beautiful olive trio. And I wanted to go evening, smoke it out. I have this trio here. I really love the shadows in these 12 pan curations. I just love how their design is laid out for you. You don't have to think about it. I mean, you can go in any which way. If you want to go in with this shade first and then hop over to the olive trio. But I love how creamy they are. And the fact that because of that texture, you very much well can apply this type of texture into the crease, even though it's not a traditional matte shade. So the versatility of Charlotte's eyeshadow textures, I feel, speaks volumes and just allows the user a little more room to play, and they don't feel stuck in having to just use the shimmer as a lid shade or as an inner corner shade. You can use these textures anywhere on the lid, and again, it just widens that spectrum of possibility. And the fact that you have so many shades in here that you can mix and match together, the daily moment, the daily smoky moment with the olive tones, and then you have your evening moment. This is a great color. I know it's not the blackest black I've ever tried, but when you layer them together, I feel it would give you enough smoke to work with. And these shades is hard because I'm in front of natural light, but the silver and the gold here in the Seduce Glow trio, they have really nice sparkle and shine that when you flash a light on them, they give beautiful dazzle on the eyes. It's really beautiful. So out of the three that I have, I don't have the first one she released like a few years back. I have the Eyes to Hypnotize, the Starry Eyes, and the most recent edition, Pillow Talk. I have to give it to Starry Eyes because I just love this curation, and again, it just gives me a little more options than the previous two that I did buy from her. An oldie but a goodie, and I actually want to give a shout out to It's Lori's Life. She suggested that we do, as a squad, this was a great idea of hers, that we do like book club, eyeshadow palette club, so that we pick one eyeshadow palette and we'll use it for a whole week, or you could just tag me when you create looks from that palette and then we'll switch to another palette another week. Isn't that such a great idea Lori had? I'm so happy she messaged me about it, and there was one palette that I thought of immediately when she gave me that suggestion. I think this is Urban Decay's best palette. Out of all the naked palettes they released, this is one of their best. I think probably the best ever from them for a very long time. I mean, clearly you see how many shades in here, but I was just blown away by the performance, by the matte's performance, the shimmer's performance. You can do so many looks with these. I mean, it's insane. I'm looking at this now and it's like, that's a lot of eyeshadow. But you have like your magentas, you got your oranges, you got your golds, your violets, your blues, your greens, your bronzes, and everything in between. It's an amazing palette, and I'm so happy they created this one because I keep getting mad at myself for not using this enough. This coral shade I love as a transition shade, and you can steer the look to be more pink, right, if you combine it with the magenta, or you can steer the look to be more neutral in tone if you pair it with this brown. You can go either way, and depending on how you set the mattes up color wise, you could go in with like the copper metallic if you want to keep it neutral all the way. If you want to follow through with the magenta, you go in with the magenta shade right here, this shimmer, and put that on your lid, and then you have that. So you can steer this in any which way. And if you get tired with the warm shades, then you've got the greens here, friends. It's like, this is an extraordinary palette. They really hit it out of the park with this one. And without a doubt, when I started creating my list for this video, this was like, you got to put this in here, because I mean, you got everything in here. You have everything in here. Drift, like this metal lavender shade, amazing. Big Sky, if you want to go all blue, you have the opportunity to do so with that shade. Extraordinary. This is Urban Decay's one of their best, absolutely. And it had to find itself on my must-have top 10. Oh, what should we do now? This was tough because from this brand, I had a lot of favorites, but I just remembered the first time I used this palette and how I included it in my then favorite video for that year. It was like, man, oh man. No other than the Juvia's Place, the Tribe, by Juvia's. This is such a special color story. You look at it, it's like bright, vibrant in your face, but earthy at the same time. I don't know how they achieve that. And a lot of these shades just have a little something about them. For instance, Chaga, this shade here is a duochrome. Look how beautiful that is on the lid, on the inner corner. It's hard to see here with just a swatch, but there's a flip in there that's just so beautiful. Coral, this shade right here, are you kidding me? It has like a lime green shift to it, gorgeous. And this shade right here, Ashanti, this mustard brown. Oh my goodness, with any of the metallics in here, it will just be a beautiful setup for any of the shades in here. And you have like your oranges and your greens and your lime green matte, but it all works together. It all works together, and this is so beautifully thought out. I love the tones. I love that they're the oranges and the yellows and the greens, but then you have like the deep teals in here as well. I mean, this shade, what is it called? San. This shade right here paired with the teal metallic. Oh my gosh. Look at that. That is amazing. These shades are insane. But you see, even with just these swatches, you can make this work on the eyes. You could combine these again in any which way. It's going to be beautiful. Stand out, vibrant, but just, it has like an earthiness to it, like I said. And it just makes it at the same time daily friendly with a little bit of pizzazz. Even if you wanted to go in with this shade, with these two shades, maybe a little bit of the orange to kind of brighten up, you'll be fine. Must have, must have. And it was hard because I actually have a lot of Juvia's Place favorites, and I wanted to go, I'll tell you, why not? I wanted to go with the Warrior, the first Warrior palette they came out with, because that is standing out too. The performance of that palette is marvelous. But you know, neutrals are neutrals, and I had a lot of neutrals to begin with on this list, so I had to give it to the one that I felt was just a better color story. It was more interesting. It was just more thought-provoking, absolutely. And I just feel more inspired to use this on a daily basis than I would the Warrior palette. You know what I mean? Ooh, this is fun, talking about eyeshadow. Would I have asked for a better day? What's next? You know what? I want to go right to what's actually on my eyes. And I got so nostalgic when applying this palette, and I could not even, oh, it was so much fun. No other than Colored Raine's Queen of Hearts. This was like the first palette when I was first getting into makeup and trying everything out, getting a better handle of what a good eyeshadow is. The first time I dipped into Colored Raine mattes, it was that moment when I was like, oh, this is what a matte is supposed to be, a good matte. What it's supposed to be. Smooth and effortless. You don't have to do anything. It just goes, and when I applied these shadows today, friends, it was exactly that. This is one of the most beautifully thought out and designed eyeshadow palettes ever. When did this come out? I'm juggling between 2015 and 2017. I don't know why those 2 years stand out, but that's what I'm going between. I love this palette. You have everything here. You have the transitions, yeah? So on this side, I primarily use the mauve matte and the magenta matte. Went on the lid with this and then smoked out a little bit here on the outer corner. And then on this side, I used the more neutral brown with the orange, with the matte brown. I even smoked a little bit here on this side, and then I have this beautifully just crazy bright bronze metallic. Not only are the mattes, but come on, these metallics from Colored Raine, oh, like, and they just, so when I swiped that, it totally went off my finger and right onto the skin. That is a positive indication of this metallic staying power, ease of use. This brown metallic dethrone, I love it so much. It has like this sparkle that when patted down on the lid, let me lighten you up a little bit. I feel like I'm losing the sparkle. It just has like a brightness to it that is just so gorgeous. I cannot stand this palette. I really can't. I had this for years and it's still amazing. Crown, are you kidding me? Crown is like a duochrome type of a shade that I think has like a pink flip to it. I have that on the inner corner here. I basically applied all these shades on both sides, yeah? Noblewoman, this red, like the cranberry metallic. I'm never getting rid of this. Never. This will always be not in this top 10. In all future top 10s I will ever do, she needs to be involved in every way. I cannot get over how beautifully this is designed. The shades in here are immaculate. And even today, the performance of this, I haven't touched this palette in a long time. It's like I just bought it. Must. What next? I have to go in with, you know I have to go in. A lot of people weren't crazy about Midnight Sun, and I understand. The reason why I always push for this one to be Pat's greatest, and that's up for debate, I know, is because the theme behind this color story is so strong. Midnight Sun is a natural phenomenon in nature where I believe is when the day is longer or when the sun and moon are out at the same time. It's just beautiful. There are several images online that you can see when typing in Midnight Sun in the search bar. And when you see that and you see this, you understand what she's talking about. You understand what she wanted to present to you. And I just love the fact that there is still that there's a power in this palette. I know I'm getting so dramatic. There's a power in this palette, but it's not over the top, because I think a lot of Pat McGrath palettes, like the ones that were released before, Bronze Seduction, Subversive, Sublime, Subliminal, even Decadence, they were like pow, wow, wow, and a lot of people were like, I don't know if I can handle that. But this you can handle, but still have some of that McGrath pizzazz that I feel people wanted to dive into but didn't know how to use it. A huge shout out to Imelda for sending this to me for a Christmas present. I am so thankful to you, my friend, and I hope you and your sister are doing well. She bought this for me from Selfridges. This is the special edition gold lined Midnight Sun palette. You see it is untouched. This is not going to be touched at all. I freaking love. First of all, the palette itself is just, oh my goodness. So I do have a regular Midnight Sun that I usually use, but can you just, like, I can't. So for me to do the swatches, hold on. This is why I do core for awkward moments like this. I'll swatch the one that I usually use because I wanted to show you some of these shades. You know my favorite. If this is your first time here, hi, my favorite shadow from Midnight Sun is Wicked Envy. This olive has like gold flecks in it, but the smokiness of it is extraordinary. It's just so rich and it has such depth, but it's an olive, but it's not like your typical olive. It's not like greeny olive. It's like smoky olive. And Astral Solstice, I fight for this shade. I know people are like, it's glittery, it's dumb, I hate it. But this is like disco ball on your eyes. And I know it's hard to see because, hold on, I gotta do this shade justice, okay? We're gonna turn down the lights, man. Like, are you kidding me? Look, it's like glass. It's insane. But you see here also the gold flecks in Wicked Envy. Are you like, forget it. Forget it. Amazing shade. Amazing shade. I fight for that shade all the time. While I understand, however, yes, if you have sensitive eyes, if you don't like glitter anything, that's fine. But if you're like thinking about it, oh my goodness. Blood Moon, this shade right here, is such a unique tone. It's like, it looks like fire. It freaking looks like fire. It is so pretty. I know it's hard to work with sometimes. You gotta pat it down, you gotta figure it out. But man, when you figure it out, it's beautiful. Blitz Violet Orchid, the most beautiful periwinkle that you will ever see. I mean, come on. And the mattes here are extraordinary. Now, what I will say, unfortunately, not only with Midnight Sun, but I think this happened to Bronze Seduction as well, that there were inconsistencies in the palette and some of the mattes were too hard pressed. I can attest to that because the first Midnight Sun I purchased from patmcgrath.com, it came hard pressed, and I noticed because I had to keep digging my brush in and I wasn't getting that color payoff that I was seeing from other users on YouTube. I reached out to Pat McGrath and they were like, we'll send you another one. And this one is so much better. So much better. The mattes here have so much depth. It's insane. They got a lot of punch. Look at that freaking color. Vermilion Venom, I can't. This red, like, it's so beautifully rich. Come on. And then with Extreme Dusk, I love that they did not include another Extreme Black. Thank goodness. So rich. My favorite. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care. That is the best. I know people really love Divine Rose. I love Divine Rose. People love Bronze Seduction. I love Bronze Seduction. But Midnight Sun, there's something about what's happening in this palette that just transcends anything I have ever experienced with the Pat McGrath palette. I do. With all that gushing out of the way, which one should we go in with next? I have to give it up to Miss Jackie Aina. This palette, I used this the other day and I'm like, what is wrong with me? I need to use this more often. This palette is so gorgeous. It has everything. It has freaking everything. You got your transitions here, you got your fun shades here, you got your colors here that you compare with not just a neutral matte, but more like a pinkier type of purple matte too. So many possibilities. I mean, it's insane. Sponsored? Yes, we've seen this duochrome before, but I love that it's in here. It's so nice to have. Are you kidding me? Oh my God, that right there, that's a look. Big Wig, you have Pinker. I love Pinker. These two mattes are so great to have because you just never know, right? So let's say you go back in here, you could go in with, what is this? Shookington, of course, I should know that shade. Shookington, Zam. You could also go in with Wigglies if you wanted to steer it more red. Yeah, you could go that direction. That's like a Valentine moment for sure. If you wanted to keep it exclusively purple, then you could go in with Shookington on the lid, paired with Pinker and Big Wig. Or maybe you go in with Dualas. Dualas is nice. It has a lot of sparkle and shine. Look at that. That is a fun shade. Ooh, my goodness. This is a great palette. And dare I say, this is all speculation, but I really felt at the time when I used this palette for the first time, the mattes in here were significantly better than the mattes from previous Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow palettes. They were smoother, they were easier to blend. That could be in my head, you know what I mean? I feel other people thought the same. So from what I've seen in other reviews and just by using it, I think this is an extraordinary palette. The quality is outrageous. The color story, I mean, accessible, inspires. It has everything in there. So a huge shout out to Jackie for this amazing palette. And again, when I thought about what will my top 10 be, this thought of immediately. I'm about to present a classic pick that without a doubt I had to include on this list. Viseart Grand Pro 1. I have all three Grand Pro palettes, but I decided to go with Grand Pro 1 because this was the first one they released. It was a collaboration between Viseart Paris and Muse Beauty Pro. They wanted to create a pigment palette, and I stress that because technically you can use any of these matte powders not only on your eyes but on your face. You can dab the powders on your lips to create like a more red lip or whatever color you want to create. These are extraordinary, and you can see how it's organized by tone and by role. So you have like your highlight colors, your base colors, your transition shades, your medium shade, your color intensifiers, and like your depth shades here, and then depending on the row will determine the undertone of those shades. So organized, just so pro, right? I feel like a pro when I have this palette. You can use any of these brown shades as brow powder. You can use it for contour. You can use any of these intensifiers to kind of change the saturation of any of the shadows in the palette. And Viseart mattes are probably the best. They're the best. I know people feel differently about that. They feel that they're dry, or when they swatch them in store, they assume that they're not going to be great because the swatch is bad. But let me tell you, once you get these pigments on a brush, it's a wrap. You get these on your lid and they just blend themselves. The ease of blend, the color richness, and the fact that they are color true. Whatever shade you see in this pan, this is how it's going to show up on any skin tone. If I'm going to use this plum's going to show up plum on any part of the skin tone spectrum. It's guaranteed. And the fact that you can mix these up in any which way, you could create a whole look just using this palette. A whole look. You got everything here. Yes, it's all matte, but all matte eyes are beautiful. They're beautiful. This was a must. I had to include something Viseart on this list because, I mean, they are standout legendary in the makeup industry, in the makeup world. And with this Grand Pro, I mean, when they came out with this, it was like, whoa. And the fact that it offers so much and that you could basically do anything you want with this palette, had to have it. Now we're gonna take a dip into the luxury bank again. I'm late to the Tom Ford party, okay? And I had to include one of these quads because I was just so impressed by the wet dry formula that he has to offer. And let me tell you, it was hard to pick because I only have 3 quads. I told this story in one of my chats that Neiman Marcus sent me a quad by accident and I just kept it. But I picked Honeymoon. I feel this is a classic color story. And this wet dry formula is so easy to use. It's just so like effortless. You just slap these on your lids and no matter how you combine these shades, if you want to use one shade all over the lid and you call the look, the ease of use and the way they blend, they just blend smoothly together. They're just so nice to use. And I had to include something luxury on this list. I know I have a couple of luxury moments, but you know, we're just being harmonious about it, okay? I had to film a demo with this, but man, this is quite the palette. It's extraordinary. I just love the textures are really special because although they have that shine and they're so skin-like and finished, they blend beautifully. And I love the fact that they can be blended into the crease despite that they're not a traditional matte as you saw. But they could just be easily manipulated and moved and grooved on the lids. It's beautiful, beautiful. And it's only 4 shades, but you could go a long way with those 4 shades, okay? The plum and like that red with that bronzy hue, the first one we swatched, I mean, that's easy. Or if you wanted to go with the beige on the lid only and just use a brown liner, the sophistication of this, it just what speaks volumes. And sometimes everything just does not have to be pigmented, right? I am so tired of that word. So pigmented, so pigmented. Oh my God, the pigmentation. Like we know, it's great that a shadow is pigmented. Sometimes it's not about the pigmentation, it's about the experience from application to wear. That has to be cohesive for me. All the boxes have to be checked. And I feel this quad checks all the boxes. Yes, it is crazy expensive. I bought this on sale. I waited for a sale because $88 for 4 shadows, it's insane. So I made sure that I waited and I wanted to buy one that was really stand out to me. And Honeymoon is it. And I had to include it on this list. That's it. Second to last palette, Colourpop. I had a hard time with Colourpop because I got a lot of their palettes, friends. And I could have gone any which way, right? I could make an argument for any of the palettes that I have. I looked over all of them and said, well, you know this and you know that. It's like, okay, well, which one though? I had to give it to my girl, I Love Sadai. Now, I know Makeup Shayla had a collaboration and I really liked that collaboration as well, the Perception palette. I gave it to Karen's collaboration because I thought this was more interesting. I thought this had a lot more to offer and there's brightness in here. There's middle ground, rose mauve. There's neutral in here. And you could just go any which way with the shades included in this palette. And again, although I love Shayla's palette and listen, if I had a keep your 10 best Colourpop palettes, that would probably be on that list. But if I needed to really narrow it down and think about the experiences I had with each palette, this comes out on top. And the reasoning is simply because of all the shades in here. I mean, you got your neutral moments with Divina. Divina is more like a plum matte, which is cool to have, you know, why not? I think it's good to have. Canela has the sparkles in the matte base. So once you blend it out, the sparkles will probably just kind of shush off. But Lomo, this coral, oh my gosh, amazing. And then you have the Wild Soul, this beautiful yellow mustard shade. I think this was beautiful to have in the palette. And then you got your teal, this turquoise, emerald green, excuse me, emerald. Like the shine on this is amazing. Okay, you're doing that right, Double Wild Soul. Those together, forget it. Then you have this teal matte that is just gorgeous. Like you have so much going on in here. You know I love my mauves, okay? Nostalgia. I'm so happy she included a mauve in here so you could just zip right over to Misbehave, which is like a rich rose matte. These together, oh my good, look at that. I love this palette. I need to use it a lot more. In fact, I want to dive back in. I'm going to look at my old video that I did. I created 3 looks for that video. I want to come back and do 4 more looks because every time I look at this palette, it just makes me happy. It makes me happy. It makes me want to dive in. It makes me want to apply makeup. And I think that's a standout quality that I look for when evaluating my palettes and deciding which ones are my favorites, is the palette that inspires me. Like the minute I open this sucker, I want to get started. I want to get the colors on. I want to do different combinations, different techniques. Like this is really, I think she did a fantabulous job. Fantabulous. Now we've come to the final one. And you're probably wondering, where's Natasha Denona? Do we really have to ask if I could only pick one Natasha Denona eyeshadow palette? It couldn't be anything but my Lila palette. It was between this and Biba. I have to tell you, it was tough because I love Biba. I love Sunrise. I love her 28 pan palettes. There's so many palettes in her collection that I could have went with, but I always come back to Lila because I think when people see Natasha Denona prices, they're like, what is the big deal? What's the hype? It's so hyped up. It's too expensive, blah, blah, blah. When you dive into this palette and you feel the quality of these shadows, when you apply them on your lids and you see the color richness, the ease of use, the depth, the overall experience of the Lila palette specifically is just, I feel, one of Natasha's best color curations ever. It was hard to top this for me. And I really love Metropolis, excuse me for not mentioning earlier, is another favorite of mine. Yes, but this, and the fact that it's all surrounding the theme of purple, and they are freaking 15 shades in here, and she made it happen, and they will all look different. I don't know how she did it. The smoothness of texture, the glide. So here's the thing. You could apply this shade on your lid, but you could buff it into your crease, much like how I explained the Charlotte Tilbury shimmers work. There's a little bit of smoothness in here that is very specific to Natasha Denona. And the color curation. So all her palettes are a matrix. You can go any which way. You could keep it this trio, you can do a quad, you could go diagonal, you could do whatever you want. But man, oh man, and the mattes in here, like the butteriness is insane. Look at that. That's like a look right there. And we just skipped around, but it works. If you want to do like another random trio, we could take this shade right here, plop it on there. Okay, let's pick another shade. Oh, I don't know. Why don't we just zip over to this side and do like a deeper shade? Oh my goodness. And let's pick another one. If we wanted to go like 180 and do the one right next to the original matte we swatched, then this could be like your inner corner highlight. That's the transition, that's the majority of the lid, and that's your inner corner. Done. This is what I'm saying. This is genius. It is. I don't care what anyone says. They could say she's overpriced, that she's this and that she's that. Natasha Denona is also a makeup artist. She also is in the lab a lot. Her mom was a chemist, is still a chemist. I don't know if she's still working as a chemist, but she's very much inspired by formulas, which is why she likes to change it a lot and people get upset with her, and I get it. But that's what happens when you're passionate about the process, about wanting to see if there's more, if there's another possibility. And yes, you're going to run into problems. You're going to run the risk of failing. You're going to run the risk of creating something that's not so great. But that's what it's about. That's what it's about. It's about discovering and seeing if there's something better. Because what if you didn't try? And you'll never know what's out there and better. I know I'm talking about eyeshadow, okay? But I feel this is what she thinks about when she tries to figure out she wants to do new formulas. And she's thinking about people are going to get mad at her because she changed her formula again. But she's like, but we got to try. That's what I'm saying. This is my favorite color story from her. And you know, I had to have this in my top 10. In fact, I will be happy with just this palette. I know that is saying a lot. A lot. But this is my favorite. It's my favorite. I love her so much. Every time I see her, I just smile. Because I just know when I dip in and I apply these shadows, it's going to be beautiful. And I'm just so proud of this palette. I'm just so proud of what's in here and everything. So that is my what if I could only keep 10 palettes. Hard, but easy at the same time. Once you've tried all your palettes and you can kind of navigate your experience and know that, yes, I mean, I love this and I love that, but there's something about that one that really speaks to you, and it makes it easy as to deciding which one should be included on your best of all time list, right? In fact, I want to keep all these palettes on the side and do 4 looks with them, with each of them, because we got time. I mean, like, what else are we gonna do? I want to dive back in. I want to create more looks. I just want to create, you know, I just want to slap on some eyeshadow and see what we can do, because it's fun and I feel we have all this makeup, and this was just a hefty reminder that we don't have to go out and buy each and every new release, that the reasons why we bought said palettes is because we thought we would love them. And if we do really love them, then why not just use them more often? So stay tuned for that. I definitely want to dive back into these palettes and do 4 looks with them so we could be re-inspired, and you could also dive into the palettes that you consider to be your top 10 of all time out of your whole eyeshadow palette collection. And it'll be fun to know what those are down below if you care to share. I would really love to know what that list is. And until then, friends, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I'll see you on here again with another review, tutorial, top 10 picks of whatever said category, monthly favorites, get ready with me, or nightly live chit chat. Take care, and I'll see you again soon. Oh, I need to wipe these arms. Where's my tissue box? Where's my tissue box? Hold, please. Mama, you're back. How was the walk? Amazing.